Hello, we're our Lives channel. Today we will learn about the shocking revelation that's about to turn Rachel Black's world completely upside down as her buried memories of that tragic night are finally set to resurface in the most devastating way possible. Rachel's suppressed trauma. The psychological weight that young Rachel Black has been carrying since that fateful evening at the DiMera mansion is absolutely crushing. This innocent child witnessed something so horrifying that her mind had no choice but to completely lock away the traumatic events of E.J. DiMera's shooting. Rachel pulled the trigger on her own uncle in a moment of pure rage and confusion, nearly ending his life right there in the mansion. The human mind has incredible defense mechanisms, and Rachel's psyche essentially shut down access to these memories as a survival instinct. She cannot consciously remember firing that weapon at E.J., even though somewhere deep in her subconscious, the truth is screaming to get out. The emotional burden of almost killing a family member was simply too enormous for a child her age to process. So her brain essentially deleted the files, burying them so deep that Rachel herself believes she doesn't know who the shooter was. The uncomfortable truth. Despite Rachel's complete memory blackout regarding the shooting incident, there are undeniable signs that something dark is lurking just beneath the surface of her consciousness. Observant Days of Our Lives fans have noticed that Rachel exhibits extremely uncomfortable behavior whenever she finds herself in EJ's presence. She becomes visibly tense, her body language shifts defensively, and there's an inexplicable nervousness that washes over her every single time EJ enters a room. Rachel herself cannot explain why she feels this overwhelming sense of dread and anxiety around her uncle, but her subconscious mind knows exactly what happened that night. It's only a matter of time before the psychological dam breaks completely and Rachel is flooded with the horrifying realization of what she did. The memories are there, locked away but very much alive, waiting for the right trigger to bring them all crashing back into her conscious awareness with devastating force. Rachel's downward spiral. Before Rachel experiences any kind of healing or resolution regarding this traumatic situation, her behavior is going to deteriorate significantly and spiral into even more troubling territory. Rachel has already begun pulling her cousin Thomas DiMera into her web of schemes and manipulation, leading this impressionable young boy down an increasingly dark and morally questionable path. The two children have been conspiring together, and Rachel's influence over Thomas is becoming more concerning with each passing day. Thomas has even come to Rachel asking for advice on how to ensure that Kat Green and Chad DiMera remain separated, and Rachel's counsel has been disturbingly clever and manipulative. This is not typical childhood mischief. Rachel is displaying genuinely troubling behavioral patterns that suggest deep psychological distress. She's acting out in ways that reflect the unprocessed trauma festering inside her mind, and Thomas is unfortunately getting caught in the crossfire of Rachel's emotional turmoil. There are even concerns that Rachel's increasingly reckless actions could potentially put Thomas in actual physical danger. The Halloween connection. The catalyst that ultimately triggers Rachel's complete memory recall might be directly connected to the unfolding Kat Green drama that's about to explode during Salem's Halloween festivities. Rachel has become entangled in Kat's complicated storyline through her scheming with Thomas, offering him strategic advice to keep Kat and Chad apart. As Halloween approaches, major chaos is brewing in the town square that will shake everyone to their core. Spoilers reveal that a mysterious and unidentified character wearing a lab coat is going to launch a terrifying attack on Kat Green right in the middle of the Halloween celebration. This dangerous assailant will be armed with a knife and will lunge at Kat with clear intent to cause serious harm. Alex Kyriakis will desperately scream out a warning for Kat to watch out, and in the ensuing chaos, Kat will tumble directly into Chad's arms for safety. Despite Alex's quick intervention, the attacker will apparently still manage to slice someone with the blade, drawing blood and creating absolute pandemonium. The triggering event. There's substantial speculation about whether this violent Halloween incident will be portrayed as an actual real-life attack or merely a fantasy sequence playing out in someone's imagination. Regardless of whether the threat is genuine or imagined, the psychological impact on anyone witnessing such violence will be profound. Since the attack occurs during Halloween celebrations in the town square, there will inevitably be numerous children present when this nightmare unfolds. If Rachel happens to be among the crowd of trick-or-treaters and witnesses this mysterious figure's life-threatening assault on Kat with a weapon, the trauma of seeing such violence could serve as the psychological trigger that unlocks her suppressed memories. The sight of someone holding a knife or gun, the screams of terror, the blood, the fear on everyone's faces, all of these sensory details could instantaneously transport Rachel back to that horrible night in the DiMera mansion when she herself held a weapon and fired it at EJ. The parallels between the two violent incidents could be so overwhelming that Rachel's mind can no longer keep the memories contained. Alternative trigger scenarios. While the Halloween attack seems like a strong candidate for triggering Rachel's memory breakthrough, there are other potential scenarios that could serve as the catalyst. The introduction of Jeremy Horton as a substitute teacher for both Rachel and Thomas opens up an entirely different set of possibilities. Jeremy has recently arrived in Salem and has taken over teaching responsibilities for the 5th grade class that both children attend. Given Rachel's increasingly erratic and concerning behavior, combined with her manipulative influence over Thomas, it's entirely possible that some form of chaos or crisis will erupt at school. Perhaps a confrontation between students, an accident in the classroom, or even a dangerous situation that Jeremy must intervene in could provide the traumatic echo that brings Rachel's buried memories flooding back. The specific details of what might happen remain uncertain, but the volatile combination of Rachel's deteriorating mental state and the unpredictable school environment creates numerous opportunities for a triggering incident. The devastating realization. No matter which specific event ultimately serves as the trigger, the outcome remains the same. Rachel will eventually remember everything about that fateful night. She will recall in vivid, horrifying detail how she was the one who shot EJ DiMera and nearly took his life. The weight of this realization will be absolutely crushing for this young girl who has been living in blissful ignorance of her own actions. But the trauma doesn't end with simply remembering what she did. Rachel will also come to the stunning realization that her mother, Kristen DiMera, has been taking the blame and accepting responsibility for Rachel's crime this entire time. Kristen has been protecting her daughter, shielding her from the legal and emotional consequences of shooting EJ, and carrying this terrible secret to spare Rachel from the truth. When Rachel finally understands the full extent of what happened, both her own actions and her mother's sacrifice, the emotional fallout will be monumental. Days of Our Lives fans need to prepare themselves for some incredibly powerful and heart-wrenching scenes as Rachel processes this devastating information and grapples with the reality of what she's done. The aftermath. The revelation of Rachel's role in EJ's shooting will send shockwaves through the entire DiMera family and beyond. The dynamics between Rachel, Kristen, EJ, and the rest of the family will be forever altered once this truth comes to light. Rachel will have to face not only her own guilt and trauma, but also the legal implications of her actions, even as a minor. Kristen's maternal instinct to protect her daughter at all costs will be fully exposed, raising questions about justice, family loyalty, and the lengths a mother will go to shield her child from harm. EJ will have to reconcile the fact that his own niece, a child he cared about, was the one who nearly killed him. The emotional complexity of this situation is staggering, and the writers of Days of Our Lives are setting up what promises to be one of the most compelling and emotionally charged storylines of the year. Stay tuned as this explosive story continues to develop and Rachel's world is turned completely upside down by the return of her most horrific memory.